Hey all, this is Six Path Weeb. Welcome back to the channel. We are diving straight back into the fray today as we continue to reshape the elemental nations through the lens of a different kind of strength. No hand signs, no flashy ninjutsu, just the raw, devastating power of the red-hot kick. Our fanfic topic for today. What if Naruko mastered Black Leg style? Part 3. Disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. The friction is building and the temperature is rising. Let's start, guys. Sasuke woke with a start, his nose twitching at a scent so delightful it pulled him right out of his blankets. He, Sakura, and their host Tazuna hurried downstairs, where they found Naruko standing at the stove, humming a cheerful tune as she flipped golden brown pancakes. To their surprise, Zabuza and a kind-looking young woman were sitting at the table, chatting quietly. Sasuke immediately dropped into a defensive stance, but Naruko just looked over her shoulder with a bright, sunny grin. "Easy, everyone," Naruko chirped, gesturing with her spatula. "They've decided to help us now. Even the fox is on our side." "Fox?" Inari asked, peeking out from behind his grandfather. Naruko pointed to a sunny corner of the kitchen. There, a beautiful, fluffy fox was curled up and snuggling with another small kit. Sakura let out a delighted coo at the adorable sight, her tension vanishing instantly. "What are they doing here?" Sasuke asked, though he lowered his guard slightly. "They realized their old boss wasn't a very nice person," Naruko explained, placing plates of steaming food on the table. "They've joined our team to help protect the village instead. A change of heart." As everyone sat down to eat, the atmosphere became warm and welcoming. Naruko explained that the greedy businessman, Gato, had been apprehended and was currently being held safely until the village could decide how to handle his misdeeds fairly. "You didn't hurt him?" Tazuna asked quietly. "Of course not," Naruko said firmly. "He needs to answer for what he did to the laws of the land. It's only right that the people he hurt get to see justice served properly through the right channels." The group ate heartily, feeling a sense of peace they hadn't felt in weeks. Sasuke, however, was focused on the young woman sitting next to Zabuza. "I'm Sasuke Uchiha," he said, trying to sound impressive. "And who are you?" "My name is Haku," she replied with a gentle smile. "You seem very skilled," Sasuke noted. "Perhaps you could help me with my training sometime?" "I'd be happy to share some defensive techniques," Haku offered kindly, "but only if it's to help protect others." The Great Bridge. Over the next week, the village of Wave transformed. With Gato's influence gone, the villagers found their courage again. They flocked to the bridge to help finish the construction. Sakura took her training to heart, practicing her focus and helping the local healers with her precise skills. Even Sasuke seemed a bit more thoughtful, practicing his forms under the watchful eye of Kakashi. On the final day, the entire village gathered at the foot of the magnificent structure. "Do you really have to go, big sister?" Inari asked, clutching Naruko's orange jacket with misty eyes. Naruko knelt down and gave him a big, encouraging hug. "I have to go back home to become the best leader I can be. But remember, Inari, you're the hero of this bridge now. You have to look after everyone here." Tazuna stepped forward, looking up at the towering achievement. "I've decided on a name for this path to our future," he announced. "We shall call it, the Great Naruko Bridge." The villagers cheered, their voices echoing across the water as Naruko beamed, her blue eyes sparkling with joy. Return to the Leaf. Back in the Hidden Leaf Village, Naruko and her team met with the third Hokage. The office was filled with sunlight as Kakashi gave his report, praising Naruko's quick thinking and her ability to turn enemies into friends. "You've done a wonderful thing, Naruko," the Hokage said, puffing a bubble from his pipe. "And bringing Zabuza and Haku here to join our ranks will bring great strength and wisdom to our village." After the meeting, Naruko stayed behind for a moment. She felt a strange pull toward the archives, a feeling she couldn't quite explain. Danzo, a high-ranking official who had always been surprisingly supportive of Naruko, approached her. "Young Namikaze," he said softly, using a name that made Naruko's heart skip a beat. "There is something you should see. A secret kept for your own safety, until you are strong enough." He led her deep into a quiet, peaceful medical wing hidden beneath the village. They stopped before a room filled with the scent of fresh lilies. Inside, resting peacefully on a bed of soft white linens, was a woman with long, vibrant red hair. Naruko's breath caught in her throat. She stepped forward, her hand trembling as she reached out. "Mother?" she whispered. The woman's eyes fluttered open, revealing a deep, warm violet color. A small, tired, but incredibly loving smile spread across her face as she looked at the young girl in orange. "Naruko," the woman breathed. "My beautiful girl. You've grown so much." In that quiet room, the golden sunshine of the afternoon poured through the window, marking the beginning of a whole new chapter for Naruko, one filled with the family and love she had always dreamed of. Naruko gazed at the woman with beautiful red hair who slept peacefully before her. "Naruko," Danzo said softly, "this is Kushina Uzumaki. Your mother. But how is she here?" Naruko asked, her blue eyes wide with wonder. "I was told she was resting in the stars with my father." "That is a long story," Danzo explained gently. "She has been in a very deep sleep since the day you were born. We have tried many ways to wake her, but none have worked. With your unique ability to connect with others' hearts and minds, I believe you are the only one who can reach her." Naruko nodded bravely. She reached out and placed a gentle hand on her mother's forehead. Using her inner energy, she felt that her mother's spirit was simply lost in a dream. Naruko closed her eyes and focused all her kindness, projecting her spirit into her mother's mindscape. The dream garden. Naruko looked around. Instead of a happy place, her mother's mind looked like a lonely, gray room with high walls. In the corner, she saw a woman with long red hair, sitting tucked away and looking very sad. "I am so sorry," the woman whispered to herself. "I missed so much. I should have been there to see my little girl grow up. She must be so lonely." "She isn't lonely," Naruko said, making her voice soft and sweet. Kushina didn't look up. "How could she not be? I haven't been there to give her hugs or tell her stories. She probably doesn't even know who I am." "She knows exactly who you are," Naruko said, walking closer until she was standing right in front of her mother. "And she loves you very much." Kushina finally raised her head. Her eyes filled with tears of joy as she saw the bright, whiskered face of the young girl standing before her. "Naruko?" She breathed in disbelief. "Hi, Mom," the blonde girl said with a giant, warm smile. Kushina leapt up and pulled Naruko into a giant, cozy hug. "Oh, Naruko. My brave little girl. What are you doing here?" "I came to bring you home," Naruko promised. "It's time to wake up now. I'll see you outside. A new beginning." Back in the real world, Kushina's eyes fluttered open. She sat up slowly, shaking the sleepy cobwebs from her head. She looked at Naruko, who was beaming at her. "Welcome back, Mom," Naruko chirped. The two spent the evening catching up. Naruko told her mother all about her adventures, her friends, and how she was learning to use her energy to help people. Kushina was so proud to hear that her daughter had grown up to be so kind and strong. The next day, Naruko headed to the training grounds to meet her friends, Sasuke and Sakura. She was skipping with happiness. "Hey guys!" Naruko called out. "Hi Naruko," Sakura said, returning the smile. "You look like you're walking on sunshine today. What happened?" "I finally met my mother yesterday," Naruko announced happily. Even Sasuke, who usually acted very serious, looked impressed. "That's good news, Naruko." Suddenly, their teacher Kakashi appeared in a swirl of leaves. "Good morning, Team 7. I have a special announcement. I've signed you all up for the Great Ninja exams. It's a chance to show how much you've learned about teamwork and friendship." To prepare them, Kakashi gave them special affinity paper to see what kind of elemental talents they had. Character, element, effect on paper. Vertical bar, vertical bar, vertical bar, vertical bar. Sasuke, fire, the paper caught a tiny, warm spark. Sakura, earth, the paper turned into fine, soft sand. Naruko, wind and lightning, the paper split in two and then crinkled up. "Wow, Naruko." Sakura cheered. "You have two talents." The big exam. The team headed to the academy for the first part of the exam. The halls were filled with students from many different lands. Some looked very tough, like a boy named Gaara who carried a large jar of sand on his back, and others looked a bit silly, like a group of younger kids trying to hide behind a painted rock. Naruko met many new people. She met Kabuto, a student who had a collection of information cards about all the participants. She also met Rock Lee, a boy who wore a green jumpsuit and had the most energetic smile she had ever seen. "Naruko-san," Lee exclaimed. "I hope we get to practice our moves together. Your spirit is so youthful." "You bet, Lee," Naruko laughed. Finally, a very tall man with a serious face named Ibiki walked into the room. "Listen up, everyone," Ibiki shouted, though his eyes were kind. "The first exam is about to begin. It will test your focus and your honesty. Please take your seats." Naruko took a deep breath, sat down at her desk, and picked up her pencil. She looked at Sasuke and Sakura and gave them a thumbs up. She knew that as long as they stayed together and stayed kind, they could pass any test. The great ninja exams had officially begun. The Chunin exams had officially begun, and the atmosphere in the classroom was thick with focus. At one of the wooden desks sat Naruko Uzumaki, her bright blonde pigtails tied back with colorful ribbons. She adjusted her goggles and looked at the test paper with a determined smile. Beside her, her teammates sat ready, trusting in the bond they had built through countless days of training. "All right, everyone," the proctor said, his voice echoing through the hall. "My name is Iviki Moroni, and I am the proctor for the first exam." The young ninja listened with rapt attention. They were eager to prove that they had the heart and the wisdom to move forward in their journey. "The first part is a written exam," Iviki explained. "You have 50 minutes to answer the questions. In the last 10 minutes, you will receive a final question that determines if you pass. Remember, you are a team. If one member is unable to continue, the whole team moves on together or tries again another time. Do you understand?" Naruko nodded confidently, her blue eyes shining. She knew that as long as she stayed positive and worked hard, she could overcome any challenge. "Good," Iviki said. "Now, let us begin." The Jonin Lounge. While the students worked diligently on their exams, their teachers gathered in the lounge to share stories and wait for the results. The room was cozy, filled with the scent of fresh tea and the sound of light-hearted conversation. "So, what inspired the new look, Kakashi?" Kurenai asked, glancing at her colleague. Kakashi looked different than usual. He seemed more relaxed, and the heavy tension he used to carry had vanished. "I decided it was time for a fresh start," Kakashi replied kindly. "It is important to keep growing and changing, don't you think?" "It certainly suits you," Kurenai remarked, noticing how bright and clear his eyes looked. "Hey everyone!" Asuma called out, holding up a bright, colorful guidebook used to track the most talented young ninja in the land. "Naruko has earned a special entry in the achievement book." "She has?" Hayate asked, leaning forward with interest. "Listen to this," Asuma said, opening the book to a page decorated with a gold star. "Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, also known as the Radiant Star. She possesses incredible stamina and a heart of pure gold. She has mastered the art of the gentle palm and can create dazzling displays of light to help her friends." The teachers listened in awe as Asuma continued reading. "Greater than Naruko's special talents. Greater than whirlwind energy, she can move with the speed of the wind to help those in need. Greater than nature bond, she can communicate with forest animals, often seen playing alongside a friendly red fox who helps her find her way. Greater than spark of kindness, she has the ability to cheer up anyone with her infectious laughter and positive spirit. Greater than resilience, no matter how difficult the task, she always gets back up with a smile. Greater than. She sounds like a remarkable young lady," Anko said, impressed by the description. "She truly is," Kakashi agreed, a proud look on his face. "During our last village project, her skills in teamwork and her ability to encourage everyone were our greatest assets." "What other surprises has she been working on?" Mike Guy asked, his voice full of youthful energy. "Oh, I wouldn't want to spoil the surprises," Kakashi said with a mysterious twinkle in his eye. "But I believe Naruko is going to show everyone exactly what it means to be a true hero through kindness and bravery." Asuma tried to turn the page to discover all of Kakashi's hidden talents, but Kakashi quickly scooped the book away with a playful wink. The silver-haired teacher carefully tucked the notebook deep into his pocket, deciding that some secrets were simply better left as fun surprises. Back in the quiet exam room, the test was turning out to be quite a puzzle. Many of the young students scratched their heads at the tricky questions. The rules were strict, and whenever someone was spotted looking at another paper without permission, their whole team was kindly asked to leave and try again next time. One by one, teams waved goodbye and exited the room. However, the 12 friends from the Leaf Village and their guests from the Sand Village remained thoughtfully in their seats. Sasuke focused his special Sharingan eyes to gently trace the pencil movements of the student sitting in front of him, turning the task into a quiet game of follow the leader. It was surprisingly effective. Sakura did not need any clever tricks at all. She had studied so wonderfully hard that she had all the facts memorized from the very beginning. Naruko, on the other hand, closed her eyes and let her bright imagination go to work. She pictured the lessons her teachers had shared, mentally connecting the dots like a beautiful puzzle. She knew that doing her absolute best and trusting her own clever mind was the most rewarding way to pass. She smiled to herself, her bright hair bouncing slightly as she confidently wrote down her answers. Ino used her family's special mind transfer technique to briefly visit Sakura's thoughts, politely borrowing a few ideas before happily returning to her own paper to jot them down. Shikamaru stretched his shadow across the floor to connect with his best friend, Choji. Through their silent, Friendly teamwork, Shikamaru helped guide Choji's hand, ensuring they both shared the exact same brilliant answers. Hinata activated her remarkable Byakugan eyes, gently peering at the answers of a smart student nearby while making sure not to disturb a single soul. Kiba sat cheerfully with his little dog, Akamaru, resting comfortably right on top of his head. The clever puppy looked over the shoulder of the person in front of them and shared the helpful hints with Kiba through a series of tiny, whispered barks. Shino quietly sent a tiny, gentle beetle to flutter around the room, reading the papers and reporting back to him. Across the room, Neji was using his special Byakugan sight to carefully gather clues from his classmates without making a sound. Kenten had set up a clever, sparkly system of small mirrors near the ceiling using tiny, almost invisible strings. She bounced a reflection of the right answers over to Lee, who adjusted his green headband to catch the light perfectly. Gaara playfully molded his magical sand into a little floating spyglass to safely peek at the answers without bothering anyone. Tamari, on the other hand, had studied very hard all week, so she happily filled out her paper without needing any tricks. Kankuro let his friendly wooden puppet do the looking for him. The puppet politely excused itself to get a drink of water in the hallway, and while it was out, it quietly whispered the hints it had found to Kankuro, who then wrote down the correct answers. After a while, the stern proctor, Mr. Iviki, cleared his throat. "All right, students," the teacher announced with his usual serious expression. "It is time for the final question." Everyone sat up straight and listened closely to what the strict man had to say. "Now," Mr. Iviki explained, "this last question decides if you get to move on to the next fun challenge. If you answer correctly, you pass. But if you choose to answer and get it wrong, you will not be allowed to try out for the advanced team again this year." A few students looked worried at the thought of having to wait a whole year. Well, almost all of them did. "Oh, please," Naruko said with a bright, confident smile. "I highly doubt it is that scary." Mr. Iviki raised an eyebrow. "You look awfully calm, little lady. Are you sure you are ready? Are you just trying to trick us, Mr. Proctor?" Naruko teased with a brave wink. Mr. Iviki's eyes widened in surprise, and then he pressed his lips together, trying hard not to smile at the blonde girl's spunky attitude. In the teacher's lounge, the instructors were giggling at what Naruko had said. "Oh my," Asuma laughed. "That girl has a lot of courage to joke around with Mr. Iviki like that. That is our Naruko," Kakashi chuckled fondly. Back in the classroom, Mr. Iviki and Naruko were having a silly staring contest. They had been doing this ever since Naruko guessed that he was playing a trick on them. "All right, then," Mr. Iviki said, finally blinking and ending the contest. "Those of you who want to try the last question, stay in your seats. Those who do not feel ready yet, you and your team may go home and try again next time." A few students nervously raised their hands, deciding to leave with their teammates. Sakura felt a little unsure and was just about to raise her hand, too. Even though she was smart, the strict teacher made her a bit nervous. Naruko noticed her friend hesitating and quickly gave Sakura a bright, reassuring thumbs up. Seeing Naruko's cheerful confidence made Sakura change her mind, and she lowered her hand. "All right, then," Mr. Iviki said as the last of the nervous students quietly walked out the door. "To those of you who are still sitting here, congratulations. You pass." Everyone blinked once. Twice. 3 times in surprise. "Excuse me, could you explain that to us?" one of the confused students asked politely. The whole point of this fun exercise was to see how well you could gather clues and solve puzzles when you felt nervous, Mr. Iviki explained warmly. In other words, to see if you could be clever detectives without being noticed. "Wait," Tamari spoke up. "What about the final question?" "There was no final question," Mr. Iviki said, finally letting a proud smile show on his face. "The last part was just to see if you believed in yourselves enough to stay in your seats. You were testing our bravery." Naruko cheered happily from her desk. "Exactly," Mr. Iviki replied. He then took off his dark bandana, revealing a very silly, fluffy haircut underneath that made him look completely friendly and not scary at all. "Oh, so that is why he always wears a hat," Naruko giggled out loud, making the whole classroom erupt into happy laughter. The exam briefing. "No matter how difficult the challenge," Iviki said firmly, his voice echoing in the quiet room. "No matter how tough things get, never give up on your dreams or your team. Stay strong. Now, those of you who have passed can." Crash. Iviki was interrupted when a brightly colored bundle burst through the window. The bundle unfurled to reveal a massive, sparkling banner that read, "Behold the second exam proctor, the amazingly awesome Anko Mitarashi." A puff of colorful confetti cleared to reveal a lively woman. She had purple hair tied up in a playful, pineapple-shaped ponytail. She wore a mesh shirt under a practical brown trench coat, a bright orange skirt, and a pair of sturdy shin guards. The young ninja stared in awe at her dramatic entrance. Naruko, a spirited blonde girl, simply folded her arms and giggled at the over-the-top display, her blue eyes shining with amusement. "You're early, Anko," Ibiki sighed, shaking his head gently at the woman's endless energy. "No, I'm not," Anko replied with a bright smirk. "You just took your sweet time." She looked around the room, noting the number of students left. "Wow, there are so many still here, Ibiki. We have a clever bunch this year, don't we?" "We have a very special group of contestants," Ibiki agreed with a nod. "Well," Anko said, clapping her hands together, "let us see how many can handle the next challenge. Follow me to the second stage of the exam, brave explorers." With that, the students eagerly filed out after the energetic proctor. The Forest of Surprises. A short while later, Anko led everyone to a massive training area. The environment looked like a dense, overgrown jungle, surrounded by a tall fence. The signs on the gates read, "Keep out. And beware of wild critters." "Call it a sixth sense," Naruko said, adjusting her headband, "but I think this place is going to be tricky." "What gave it away?" Sakura asked, smiling at her blonde teammate. "Listen up, kiddies," Anko announced to the group. "This is Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Surprises. Inside, you'll find tricky terrain and giant wildlife that might give you a good scare. Sounds like an adventure." Naruko cheered, making the rest of the students shake their heads in amusement at her boundless optimism. "Don't get too confident, little leaf," Anko teased. She swiftly tossed a rubber training ring, playfully aiming to boop Naruko on the nose. Naruko easily tilted her head, dodging it with a bright smile. Suddenly, Anko felt something gently wrap around her waist, lifting her safely into the air. She looked down to see a large, friendly red fox holding her up with a soft, fluffy tail. "Good girl, Hitomi-chan," Naruko praised, happily petting the magical fox. Hello?" Anko called out cheerfully. "I'm still up here." Hitomi carefully set the proctor back down on her feet. Anko dusted off her coat, looking highly impressed. "Now, where was I?" Anko asked herself. "Oh, right. Each team will go to a tent and receive either a sun or a moon scroll. Your goal is to gently acquire the opposite scroll from another team and make your way to the tower in the center of the forest. You have a total of 5 days to complete this task. Work together, and stay safe." After receiving their sun scroll in a secluded tent, Naruko and her team stood before their assigned starting gate. "The second part of the exams has officially begun." Anko's voice echoed over a loudspeaker. With that, the gate swung open, and the teams dashed into the lush, green forest. A clever strategy. After running for a few minutes, Team 7, accompanied by Hitomi the fox, paused in a quiet clearing. "Okay," Naruko said, placing her hands on her hips. "Does anyone have a clever plan?" "We need to find another team and trade or outsmart them for the scroll we need," Sasuke suggested calmly. "I can't think of anything right now," Sakura admitted after a moment of thought. "Well, I'm going to scout ahead for just a minute," Naruko said brightly. "I'll be right back." As Naruko walked a few paces away, she focused her mind, sending out a gentle wave of her special sensory energy to check for hidden observers. She immediately sensed a few people hiding in the branches above. "Hitomi," Naruko communicated mentally, "we have some playful guests trying to sneak up on us. Could you kindly spook them away?" "Yes, Naruko," the fox replied in her mind. Naruko turned toward the closest hiding spot. "You know, it's not very polite to sneak up on people when they're trying to concentrate," she called out with a knowing smile. A boy in a yellow jumpsuit tumbled out of the tree, looking surprised. "Wow, you noticed me? I guess the rumors about the bright young ninja with the magical fox are true." Naruko reached out with her magical energy, creating a soft cushion of air that gently pushed the boy out of the clearing, making him bounce safely onto a massive pile of soft leaves. Meanwhile, Hitomi let out a loud, theatrical roar that playfully startled the other hiding ninjas. They dropped their extra moon scroll in their haste to run away and hide in the bushes. Naruko trotted back to her team, holding the scroll up triumphantly. "Well, that was easy." The blonde beamed. "Now we just have to find the tower." "But how are we supposed to do that?" Sakura asked. In response, Sasuke simply pointed behind Naruko. She turned around to see a brightly glowing, magical neon sign with a large arrow that read, "The tower is this way, silly." Silence filled the clearing. "How did we miss that?" Naruko asked with a laugh. Team 7 and Hitomi quickly followed the arrow, rushing toward their goal. The goofball guards. Outside the forest, Anko was sitting on a branch enjoying a sweet snack when two guards approached her. "Anko," one of the guards said, "we found something funny you should see." They led the proctor to a spot near the fence where several ninjas were fast asleep, safely tangled up in a harmless web of soft vines. "Okay," Anko said, placing her hands on her hips. "Who forgot to take down the giant glowing sign pointing to the tower?" "That would be me, ma'am," one of the guards said sheepishly. "My cousin told me to leave it up." "Who is your cousin?" Anko asked, raising an eyebrow. "His name is Goofball." "Tommy Goofball," the guard replied. Anko blinked a few times. "And what is your name?" "Johnny Goofball, ma'am." Anko shook her head, laughing softly. "I'm surrounded by goofballs. Keep an eye on the perimeter, you two. I have to go check on our students." With a poof of colorful smoke, she vanished. The shadow in the woods. Deep in the forest, Team 7 was making wonderful progress toward the tower. Hitomi trotted happily beside them. Suddenly, Naruko stopped in her tracks. "Naruko, what is it?" Sakura asked, noticing her friend's sudden halt. "We are not alone," Naruko said carefully, looking up at the dense canopy. Out of nowhere, a strong gust of magical wind blew through the trees. Sakura and Sasuke bravely braced themselves, but Naruko was swept up by the breeze and carried a distance away, landing softly on a bouncy bed of magical moss. "Hee hee hee," a mysterious voice echoed. Sakura and Sasuke turned to see a shadowy figure wearing a grass village headband, smiling mischievously at them. "Now that the energetic one is out of the way, let us see how well you two can dance," the figure challenged. Meanwhile, Naruko stood up and dusted off her clothes. "Wow, that was quite a breeze," she noted. Suddenly, a giant, grumpy-looking snake slithered out from the bushes, blocking her path. "Shoo, overgrown earthworm," Naruko said bravely. She reached into her pouch and pulled out her magical light wands. With a swift motion, she activated them, creating a brilliant, sparkling flash of light. Startled by the bright, happy colors, the giant snake quickly turned and slithered away into the underbrush to find a quieter spot to nap. "I really need to get better at hiking," Naruko playfully muttered. Focusing her energy, she sensed her teammates were in the middle of a tricky encounter. "They need my help," she declared, dashing back through the trees. When Naruko arrived, she saw the shadowy ninja trying to place a magical, glowing sticker on Sasuke's shoulder to trap him in a temporary sleep spell. "Hey, leave my friends alone," Naruko shouted. She sent a gentle but firm burst of wind energy toward the mysterious figure, pushing them safely away from Sasuke. The figure gracefully flipped backward, landing on a sturdy branch. Their disguise faded into mist, revealing a pale, theatrical mask underneath. "I was hoping you'd be a fun challenge," the mysterious ninja said with a dramatic bow. "Let us see if your teamwork is as strong as your spirit." "All right, team," Naruko said, her light wands glowing warmly as she stood bravely beside Sakura and Sasuke. "Let's show them what Team 7 can do." That is all for this journey, YouTube family. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share your thoughts, and hit subscribe to join the ranks. Thanks for your continued support. Until next time. 6 Path Weeb.